Alright, hey everyone, this is Professor Nagel. We are going to do exercise 10.1, create the payment app from Murach C#. This is going to be one of the bigger assignments, at least so far this semester. So step one is to open up the payment app, which we've done, and we have a form here called Form 1, and step 2 is rename this to FRM Customer. Make sure that both the file name and the name that's used in the code. So I'm going to take Form 1, I have it selected, hit F2, and name this FRM Customer. Would you also like to perform this rename in all the project references to Form 1? Yes, we always want to do this. All right, it's going to save us a lot of headaches further down the line. So that is now renamed. We do have to check, if necessary, modify the main method that's in program.cs. And you can see now the main is starting with a new FRM customer. So that's our startup form. All right, and step 3 is add a second form named FRM payment. So there's a lot of different ways you can add a form to an existing project. What I found is the most foolproof way is to go to Project, Add Form. And then we need to name this form, so not Form 1, FRM Payment. So do yourself a favor, pause for a moment, make sure you type this correctly. FRM means it's a form, then capital P for payment, and leave that .cs. Okay, that's your file name that's getting added. So get that right, or else you have a lot of headaches to fix later. And now we have the payment form. And that was step 3. I've done enough, I'm going to hit save. And now let's go to step 4, which is add the controls to the payment form and set the properties of this form and its controls as described in 10.16 and 10.17. Okay, so our payment form. Let's just actually start with the text of this form is going to be payment, not FRM payment. And I like putting my forms in the middle of the screen. And what we have, we're going to bring out the toolbox because we're going to be doing some designing. And we start with a group of radio buttons, which are not in, unless I'm mistaken, right, a group of radio buttons are not in common controls. You can find that under containers. So containers, group box. I know I have a group box here, and this is going to be called billing. That's the text of it. And I'm going to call this GRP billing. So I'm going to put some radio buttons in here. Back to my common controls. I have a radio button. You can either use RDO or RAD. I just took a look at the book and they use RDO in this instance. Okay, so this is RDO credit card. And the text for this is credit card. And I'm guessing there has to be some access keys on this too. So let's just start adding access keys as we work through this. Even billing should have an access key to it. Okay, then I need another radio button inside here. Thank you. And this is going to be called Bill Customer. We already have a B access key. I'm looking at my form. I'm going to have a T, N, and E. I don't care. Put it on the U. Okay, then we need a list box here for the credit card type. So we're going to call this LST credit card type. That is an L in the beginning of that. That is not a number 1. And of course we need a label for that. Remember, unless we're programmatically changing our labels or changing any properties on the labels, like hiding them or changing the value or anything, we don't need to give them proper names. And this is going to be credit card type. And I'll clean all this up later. Right now I'm just kind of getting things on here. Then we need card number, and so another label. And a corresponding text box. And look, part of being a good programmer and designing good applications is look at this box for credit card number. You have all entered a credit card number online before. You know a credit card number is not going to fit in there, right? So go ahead and make that box bigger. Okay, that's big enough for a credit card number to fit into. All right. So part of being a good form designer is making sure that your elements are appropriately sized. All right, and then we need a combo box for the expiration date. And I'm going to start with just one, and I'll show you why in a moment. Okay, but this is going to be CBO year. Actually, let's be a little bit more specific. EXP year. Oops, sorry, the book wants expiration. CBO expiration year. And the drop-down style is drop-down list. And I need a label for that. And this one is going to say expiration date. And then I need a checkbox. I know I'm not done with the expiration date. The text of my checkbox is set as default billing method. Let's put an access key on the D, I think. I'll double check, make sure I'm not reusing those momentarily. And this is going to be CHK default. All right, I need a little bit more room here. I think we're good right now. But what I want to do is get these elements vertically spaced equally. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is make my list box the same width as my credit card label or number. Expiration date, we'll deal with in a second. I'm going to select these three things and make vertical spacing equal. Boom. Great. Now I know the space here is the same as the space here. Now I can take this combo box for the expiration year, give me another one, and this is going to be expiration month. I can actually take expiration year, make it smaller. That's only going to be 4 digits. Right, in month we have like September. That's a bigger month. All right. So this is not combo box 1. This is CBO expiration month. And now we can get these to all line up. And finally, we're going to have a couple of buttons. So this is going to be BTN OK. And it is going to say OK. And one more button. This is going to be BTN cancel. And that's going to say cancel. All right, let's move these a little bit closer. Not too close. We don't want to accidentally click on the wrong thing like I've been doing so far. Okay, so oopsie, credit card and cancel use the same access key. So I'm going to change credit card. I'll change it to the R. So BRUTNEDOC. All right, I didn't reuse anything. All my access keys are unique. We do definitely need to make sure that we have all the right properties. So I'm going to compare this to the book. We can do this together. The name of this form is FRM payment. The text is payment. The accept button, I know that's not set, is going to be OK. And guess what? Cancel button is going to be cancel. The start position is center screen. And control box and maximize are both set to false. So maximize, double click that, that's false. Control box, false. Save. Group box 1, the text is billing. Radio button 1 is credit card, and checked is true. We're going to have a default item selected here. Bill customer just has, oh, see, good thing we checked it. This is RDO bill customer. Did I get credit card right? Yeah, RDO credit card. The bill customer, RDO bill customer. The list box is LST credit card type. We're not adding the items in the designer. We're going to do it programmatically. We have TXT card number. We have our expiration month and year, and those are both drop-down list. Yes, they are. Set as default, CHK default. Oh, checked should be true. So by default, that is true. And our buttons are either BTN OK or cancel. And on cancel, the dialog result is cancel. So we're going to be using that dialog result, you'll see, because our payment form, our customer form, when you hit select payment, is going to open up the payment form. And we're going to be able to capture and see what button the user clicks and all this stuff. So of course you've been saving all along. That was step 4. And step 5 is use the tab order to set the tab order view to set the tab order. So view, tab order. If you do not see the tab order option here, that happens sometimes, just select anywhere on your form, hit F7 to go into your code, get out of your code, and then you should be able to view tab order. I don't know why, but that sometimes happens. And remember, I added this, and then I did some other things, and then I came back and added my expiration month. So our tab order is not correct, right? I even added the list box before the credit card type label. So if someone used, I think it was R on credit card type, as my access key, their focus would go to the next highest item, which would be this label. Well, you can't focus on a label, so then it would go to number 4. So if you tried to use access keys right now, 2 would lead you to 4. So we need to renumber this. Billing is going to be 0, and within a group we have sub numbers, right? We have 0.0, 0.1. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that should be the tab order of your form. Hit escape and save. All right, step 6, generate the event handlers for the load event of the customer form. So here's the customer form. To get to the load event of the customer form, you double click on it. And when the customer form loads, we're going to add some names to the, it's a combo box, but I'd rather just use words. Customer name drop down. So CBO names dot items dot add Mike Smith. Make this a little bit bigger for you. We can copy this. We're actually going to use it a couple times here. So let's copy it like this. All right, the last one's going to be Nancy Jones. And then go ahead and put your name in the middle. Okay, that was the load event of the customer form. For the form closing event of the form, so go back to the customer form, select it, choose event, form closing, double click there, and now we have a new event. Okay, we actually can't fill in this one yet, but we at least have the event handler. And for the click event of all 3 buttons. So we have select payment, there's our event handler, save, our event handler, and exit, our event handler. Then add the global is data saved variable. So this is going to be a class level variable, is data saved. And then add the code for these events. So we already did the load. We can program the BTN exit click, right? That's just this dot close. And this will call FRM customer form closing, right? Because it's making the form actually close. So it will actually call this method as well. And when the form is closing, if is data saved is equal to false, ask the user if they want to save the data. If they do, and the data is valid, save it. If they, all right, so let's start here. Ask the user if they want to save the data. So we're going to have string message equals this form contains unsaved data. A couple of new lines. Do you wish to save it? Okay, so that's my message. And I want to show this to the user. So I'm going to use a messagebox.show. I'm going to show them the message. And I'm going to say, what's this title? It's going to be something like, what? Unsaved data? That's great. And I'm going to put this on multiple lines because we're going to be using a lot of lines here. So you know message box show like this. This is the message. This is the title of the box. We can also send along what type of buttons do we want to use. So message box buttons is the enumeration, and we want yes, no, cancel. Because those are the options, right? This form contains unsaved data. Do you wish to save it? Yes, I want to save it. No, I don't. Or oops, I don't want to close the program. And we'll give a nice icon, a nice warning icon. Okay, so one thing I don't like is this right here. If is saved data is equal to false. So think of it this way. If is saved data is false, then this thing is true. And if is saved data is true, then this whole thing is false. Let me write that out. Is data saved, and then we have like the expression. Okay, this is my little truth table here. So if is data saved is true, this whole expression is false. And if is data saved is false, this whole expression is true. So instead of writing it this way, I could just say, if not, is data saved. All right, just a little bit more, a little cleaner of code. All right, so we ask the user, do they want to save it? We pop up the window. Now, how do we capture what they said? We're going to capture that in a dialog result. That's a new type of object that you haven't seen yet. And that's going to be equal to, so I give it a name, button. This is like chosen button. Okay, so now we can look at this and say, if chosen button is equal to dialog result dot yes, they want to save the data. Else, if that chosen button is, we're going to go with no. I'm going to program them in the same order here. If they said no, don't do anything. All right, and the last one here is else if chosen button is equal to dialog result dot cancel, stop the form from closing. So we can say e.cancel equals true. So now when we test this and we hit exit, this form contains unsaved data. Do you wish to save it? I hit cancel. It stopped this event from happening. Otherwise, I hit cancel and it closes up. Okay, if it feels like I'm bouncing all over the place, it's because this particular application is not very linear in the way that we're building things. They're having us go all over the place. So I'm trying to make this make sense as best as possible. All right, we're going to lean on Visual Studio a little bit, and I'm going to work on the save event handler. And in save, I'm going to say if is valid data, then save data. And there's a whole bunch of errors here because guess what? Is valid data does not exist, and save data does not exist. And I know that. I purposely coded it this way because I want to lean on, like I said, lean on Visual Studio to help me make those methods. So we can start with save data, right? And I can say, yeah, generate method save data. There we go. It gave us the method. Now, look, you might look at this, and I've had students do this and go, oh, the red squiggly's gone. That means it's fixed. But if you look at what save data does, it just throws a not implemented exception. And that's not what we want. When we save the data, we want to set is data saved to true. We're not actually saving the data anywhere. Okay, we are just pretending that we saved the data. And then is valid data, yep, help me out there. generate a method. And notice this one's smart enough to return a Boolean because it's inside of a condition. But we still need to do something here with isValidData. So I'm going to have a success Boolean and an error message string. And this form is only valid if cbonames.selectedIndex is greater than 0. It is valid. So if it is equal to -1, nothing was chosen in the dropdown. So we're going to add to the error message, you must select a customer. So we're looking for errors. All right, what other error could we have? Well, if LBL payment.text is equal to nothing, then error message, we're going to add to it, you must enter a payment. And I always forget that's double equals. And if there were other things that we needed to validate with the customer, we could do so. Now, if the error message is not empty, there's at least one problem. So we want to show this to the user. And all they can say is okay. Again, let's take this on multiple lines. When you're just sending like 3-4 arguments to a function, use multiple lines. We'll put an error icon on there as well. So you show the error, and then this whole thing is just going to return false. Otherwise, and now you could put an else here, return true, if that makes sense to you. But remember, this returns false. If error message is not empty, it returns false. If the only thing in our else is return true, we don't even need that else there. We could just say, hey, just go ahead and return true. And that means I never even used this bool success. All right, the book wanted you to like set success to false, otherwise set it to true, and then return success. That's additional memory usage, right? And I know it's very minimal memory usage, but it's still memory usage. So we don't need to do that. Okay, so we have our isValidData. If isValidData save data, that's what happens on click. Let's go back to closing. If they said, yes, I want to save the data, we can then say if isValidData save data. Otherwise, isValidData showed an error message and returned false. So we want to stop the window from closing. So I think we might be able to check this out, because if I just hit save, you must select a customer, you must enter a payment. If I hit exit, there's unsaved data. Do you wish to save it? Yes, I do. You must select a customer, you must enter a payment. Okay, so that's working pretty well right now. Our save method, where's save data? Here it is. So look, what I did was I knew I wanted to work with save data. Hold down control. Now your methods are links, like hyperlinks in HTML. You can click on it and it'll take you to where that method is declared. All right, so we pretend to save the data and then reset the form. So cbonames.selectedIndex is equal to -1. lblpayment.text is equal to nothing. And cbonames.focus. Okay, so when you change the customer name or this payment method changes, the data that's on the screen is not saved. So I'm going to select the combo box for customer name. I'm in events, and I'm looking for selected index changed. And when that happens, is data saved is equal to false. And lblpayment.text is equal to nothing. You know, I don't want my information used on the form, right? You select Eric Nagel and you put in my payment information. And then you hit the combo box and you change it to Mike Jones, I don't want my payment information on his name. So we're going to wipe that out. And one more, if the payment method changes, so text changed, is data saved equals false. Okay, I might have missed something, but I hope that's everything on the customer form. Let's look at the payment form. So the payment form looks like this, and when it loads, we need to put in some credit cards here, and we need to populate the expiration date. So when it loads, credit card dot items dot add. I'm going to add a Visa. If I was smart, I would have stopped here and copied this. Oh, and there's only 3 of them. We don't accept no Discover card here. And select the first one by default. Okay, and for months, I want an array of months. And the first one is going to be select a month, because that's at spot 0. Now look, when we do that, January is at spot 1. February is at spot 2. March is at spot 3. And that lines up with the month in the year, right? You know March as the 3rd month. So I'll write these out. Because they're only months, right? There's only 12 of them. But if you were building an application that said like, oh, please select your state, and you had to write out all 50 states, don't write out all 50 states. Go online. There's somewhere you can find all 50 states that you can just copy. All right, and I just searched for that, and check it out right here. C#.net array of state names. There it is. Thanks, E. Gandalf. All right, then for each of these months, so for each string month in months, we want to add this to the combo box. So CBO expiration month dot items dot add month, and then select the first one. So that's the month work. And notice, like, this stuff's grouped together, and then I put a blank line. Because then all this stuff is all about months. Blank line. And guess what? We're going to do the years. So I'm going to say int start year equals 2024. Because you can't have an expiration date that is in the past. And int end year equals, oh, I don't know, let's say they go out 16 years, so 2040. Now we're going to take CBO expiration year dot items dot add. Do we say please? No, we just say select. Select a year. And now I want to loop through from 2024 to 2040. I'm going to use a for loop. For int year equals start year, year less than or equal to end year, year plus plus, CBO expiration year dot items dot add year. And then, of course, select the first thing. Select that selected year. So this is great for today, but if you look, this is September 2024 when I'm recording this video. In 3 months, this is outdated. So instead of using the actual year, we're going to use the date time object, which is available to us, today, which represents today, and the year from that. Okay, so now our application is a little bit sturdier, but as the start year moves up, so should the end year. So end year is actually going to be start year plus, I don't know, 12, 8. The book has 8. Credit cards go off quite a ways now. Just make sure that it's going to be big enough for your application. So back to the payment form. If the user clicks OK, we're going to make sure that this has valid data. And if it does, we're going to save the data. And of course, there's red squigglies there because these don't exist. So let's make is valid data, which returns a Boolean, as we know. All right, so the way the book has it, I'm going to show you this. The way the book has it is if you selected the credit card do all this error checking, and then return whatever your success boolean is. So I question this. If credit card's not checked, that means the other thing is checked, right? What is the other thing? The other thing is bill customer. So I would rather say if RDO bill customer dot checked, and we don't have to say dot checked is equal to true, right? We can just say dot checked. Then return true. Because always bill customer is always valid. If we're here, we're dealing with a credit card. So what I did with this is I just took all of this code and I was able to bring it back one indentation. All right. As your code gets more and more complicated, you're going to want to not indent it, 100 times. Okay, so we want to make sure that you've selected a credit card type, you've entered a credit card number, you've selected a month, you've selected a year. I'm going to do one of these. I'll walk through one of them. So if the selected index is equal to -1, then you didn't choose a credit card type. So I'm just going to quickly code the rest of it. It's just a bunch of if statements. And these two, we're looking at if the selected index is 0, because they are drop downs like this. So something has to be chosen. And it's either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So this error message thing is going to be just the same as our customer error message. This message box.show. So I'm just going to copy that. And now let's build out save data. So save data is a little bit different. All right, we are going to build a message, and the idea is that we're going to build this result. Okay, and let's call it payment result. And remember, this form, when you hit select a payment, launches this form. We fill it all out, we hit OK. I want to take from the child form and put it back into this text box. So we're going to build a string that goes into this text box. And that's what this string is. So if RDO credit card dot checked, so from the list box, grab the credit card type, add in the credit card number, and this is all, I can get rid of my toolbox. This is all one line, or one statement. Expiration date, plus the expiration date, or month as text, plus a slash, plus the text property of the expiration year combo box with a new line. That's if you checked radio button. Otherwise, payment result is going to be, and the first time you could just use equals. It doesn't have to be plus equals the first time. You're never adding to it the first time. And then we're going to look at whether they checked this box is default billing. So if chk default dot checked. We're going to make this say use as default billing. Okay, so we built this whole message, and where we're going to put this message is in the tag of the form. So we have this special tag variable that we can use, and that's going to be the payment result. And then the dialog result is going to be the OK button. So this is what's getting, this gets pushed back to the parent or the calling form, the customer form. The result is going to be an OK button, right? Remember that on the cancel button, we have nothing. I think we actually want to set the dialog result to cancel on the cancel button. I don't know. I feel like we need that. To get there, I double clicked on the cancel button. I set that to cancel. Okay, we're getting there, still going. On the payment form, when you change from this to this, we need to possibly disable some of these fields, right? Because if it's bill customer, you shouldn't have the option to put anything in here. Versus if it's credit card, you should be able to. So I'm going to double click on my radio button. Your event handler might be different, but the idea is the same. Now look, I'm going to write out some code, and then I'm going to show you how to write this code better. So you can follow along, or you can sit back, listen, and then write better code in a couple of minutes. All right. And this is the way that you'd probably think about this. You'd say, if RDO credit card dot checked, then we want to enable controls. Otherwise, we want to disable controls. All right, and obviously enable controls and disable controls do not exist. So I'm going to make enable controls. Enable controls is going to take LST credit card type dot enabled, set that to true, and TXT card number dot enabled, also to true, and CBO expiration month and CBO expiration year. Disable, as you could imagine, does pretty much the same thing, only it sets them to false. All right, so let's make this a little bit better. Instead of saying enable controls, what if we said controls enabled, and we say true. And instead of disabled controls, we say controls enabled false. Now, give me a new method for controls enabled, please. Thank you. And this takes a Boolean, true or false. And instead of, and this is a terrible variable name, but that works for now. So it takes a variable, an argument or a parameter, and it will set these things to either true or false based on that parameter. So already, we now can get rid of these two methods. All right, I'm not done yet. I'm almost done. We do need this controls enabled. Okay, that's definitely a better way to write it, because now if there was another field, we only have to add it once, whereas previously we would have had to add it twice. Okay, now RDO credit card dot checked. This is true. If we're going to run controls enabled with true, I know that RDO credit card dot checked is true. Otherwise, I know that RDO credit card dot checked is false. So I don't need to put that in a condition. I can just take the value of that true false and send it right to my controls enabled method. Much cleaner code. It takes the value, whether this is checked or not, true or false, sends it to this, uses that value to enable or disable all those form fields. All right, we're back to the assignment. I don't know. Let's just try it. I feel like I missed a very important step somewhere. So I'm going to choose myself. Yeah, that select payment's not doing anything. So on the customer form, This is like one of the big steps. But we couldn't do this big step until a lot of the other stuff was done. Okay, we're almost done though, I think. So you said select payment. I want a new form. I'm going to call it payment form, and this is a new instance of FRM payment. And then I want to show that, but remember that I want to see what comes back from the form. So I'm going to capture what the user selected. Whether they said OK or cancel is going to be put into this selected button, okay? And that variable. So if they said OK, they clicked on the OK button. They clicked on the OK button of the payment form. So if they did that, remember that the payment form, we use that tag. So LBL payment.text is going to be equal to the payment form, which is this variable, grab the tag property, which could be null, and then make it a string. Now let's check this out. All right, I'm going to say Eric Nagel, select a payment. If I say bill customer, great. I can't select any of that stuff. I can still select that. That's good. Go back to credit card. I have to choose one of these. Like, it's impossible not to choose one of these. Okay, let's say okay. Oh, enter a credit card number. Choose a month. Choose a year. And then, ooh, I have a typo there. It took that, and that, I think I mistakenly said before, it writes it to the tag of the parent. It was the tag of this form that we were able to read, and then put it back into LBL payment.text. Now if I hit save, great, it's saved. I hit exit. Oh, when I hit save, it should have, I know exactly what happened. All right, so a couple things. When you write back to the payment method, I have a typo there. So on my payment, where do we say here? Charge to credit card? Charge to credit card. And then, oh, my save on the customer form. So what happened here, where's save data? Okay, we save the data, great. And then we reset these values. But remember, when you change the selected index of CBO names, now is data saved is false. Really, this is data saved equals true needs to happen after you reset the form. In a real life, you would still save the data up here, write it to a database or something, reset the form, and then set the Boolean to true, or the flag to true. Okay, let's hit the wrong button. Check it out again. I just hit save, have to select a customer and payment. Nancy Jones must enter a payment. Great, just bill, not the default. Okay, now, if I choose Eric Nagel, great, that went away. Bill, default, save, exit. So that time, I didn't get the warning because all the data was saved. All right, all of that was 10.1. It was a lot, I understand. The important things to know is, like, obviously we have combo boxes and radio buttons and check boxes. This bit here, right? When you look at it, you're like, oh my God, there's a form making another form. That's really complicated, but it's not. The type is form. This is the name, and we have a new instance of FRM payment class. And then show it and capture what button the user clicked on. And based on what they clicked on, we might want to do something with, remember, because this payment form, even though it's not visible, it's still there. It still exists in memory. So I can look at it, and I could look at the tag property of that form. So back in our code here, this is the child form. We are able to write that back to the tag property. So I guess this doesn't get pushed back to the parent form. This is accessible, IBLE? ABLE? via the parent form. Be a little more clear there. All right, so that's an important bit. Error messages, we know how to do all that stuff. But the closing also, same thing. We're using messagebox.show. We're giving them options, and then we're looking at which button did they choose in that messagebox.show. Did they choose yes, no, or cancel? And then based on what they chose, we can do other things. Remember, e.cancel will stop the current event from running. So when the form's closing, in my code, I could stop it from closing. All right, all of that was 10.1. I hope that helped you. If it did help you, please subscribe to my channel. I will be recording more videos as we continue through the book.